Hey folks, I'd like to bring down a couple of special guests. First off, I'd like to bring down once again the writer of Vice Squad, Mr. Robert Vincent O'Neill. And also very, very, very thrilled to be introducing down yet tonight our other guest, the star of Vice Squad, Mr. Hauser.
You must say?
No doubt.
Hello, you crazy motherfuckers! Yes. I look the same, right?
These are the diehards. Midnight on a Tuesday night. These people stayed to enjoy this incredible film, and thanks you guys. I really appreciate staying out so late on a Tuesday night. I know some of us in this town still working, I believe, so thank you for some of them. Not many, but some of us still are. First up, Bob, the first time you've seen the film probably in many years also?
Well, I saw it 2 months ago on IFC, and that was the first time I'd seen it in 25 years, yeah.
Okay, first time you've seen it with an enthusiastic audience, so we'll put
Oh, this is the first time with an enthusiastic audience, right? Which I had been warned about the audience reacting to this picture before. You know, this is terrific. It's great fun.
And it still works. First off, I want to thank Phil Blankenship, who does the midnight shows here, providing that print. That was his print. It was actually beautiful. So thanks for telling that.
I got to say one thing. This man is a tornado. I mean, from the minute he walked into that motel hallway and he knocked on the door, his hands, his fingers gave me the willies. I mean, he just scared the shit out of me through this whole picture. You know, he was just beautiful.
And speaking of that, Williams, I wanted to mention something we talked about. Gary Shermer, the director of the film, is back in Chicago these days. I wanted to send his best to you guys and to everybody involved in the film. And Gary did mention to me, talking about you getting involved in the film, that there was you went in for a casting of the film, and he mentioned that there was some story you should probably tell about how you got cast in the role.
Right. Well, I actually kept my pants on in that one, so that was great. Those were the early days. God, you'd do anything for a role. Well, let's see. You guys interested in how I got this role?
Yeah. Okay. So this was one of your first big roles at this point.
Yeah. So I've been doing this thing called The Young and the Restless. You ever hear of this? The soap opera? And I was playing a character. I don't know if you guys saw this, but he was like just this side of a Ken doll. You know, it was like he had no genitalia. And he was just concerned about Nikki all the time. He'd just be like, well, gosh, Nikki, you know, I think if you just tell the truth, everything will work out. One of these guys, right? So after 4 years of this, I was just ready to, just explode. So I get this call to go in and meet on this thing and audition. And I guess I did a couple of auditions. It was finally time to meet Robert Remy, who was the president, I believe, of
AFCO Embassy. Right.
Well, that's you. My God.
Voice of God speaks.
Fucking writers. Oh, no. It's just
He's so right.
So I got to meet Frank Camper Jr., the director, and they're all in there, and they just, they look like people who you're not in the same business with. You're an actor. They're in a different business. And so I walk in there and I go, I got a job. I'm okay. I'm just going to blow this out. I'm going to really, come out of my shell and hit these people. So I'm wearing this belt buckle, and it's got a bullhorn on it. It's like, something out of fucking Texas, like a longhorn, And so I'm sitting there, and they're asking me a few questions, and I'm just like unbuttoning my belt. And, every now and then you see Bob or one of the guys start to look like, what's he going to do? And I just quietly take off my belt buckle, and snap it, and I pull it out, right? It's a big, thick cowboy belt. And I kind of bend it in half. And then I look at Bob Remy sitting behind his fucking desk. And I look at this son of a bitch, and I walk up to him. Dad, I'm going to kill him. And I look at him, and I hit the table so hard with this belt that he goes back in his chair. And I go, is this what you fucking want? Ramrod was born. And I think they said, well, thank you very much. And it was very nice. I was like, no, fuck you. Yeah. And I walked out of there. Before I got in the car, it was like, it's yours, please do this, And then it was, my God, now I'm going to have to kill people and beat up women. I'm raising a daughter on my own, and I'm going to do this to women. Oh, my God. So anyhow, I started drinking. No. But I got, so anyhow, that's the story there.
Yeah, I think Gary's memory was that Bob Remy told him he's got the part, just get him the hell out of here. It was just well, that's the thing too. I mean, it's a really intense role. Did you find it hard to sort of turn Ramrod on and then go home at night and turn Ramrod off? It's a very powerful, intense role. It's memorable.
Yeah.
The film really, your role is what makes the film so memorable.
Amen to that.
But well, really, truly, every time, if an actor is good, he's doing his chops and things. If he's really good, it's because of the words. The words are so important. Even if Bob wrote words in this before Clint Eastwood said them,
Yeah, this is a year before that.
Things he would say, that, and they might not be important to the audience at the time, but to an actor, if you can grab on one thing, just one little thing, one little word, and you talk about the hands at the door, the door scene. You guys know, you remember the door scene, right?
The opening scene where he first comes to kill Ginger.
He didn't kill her.
You thought you did.
Did he kill her?
You did.
Wow. I've seen the film in 29 years. So anyhow, here's how this went. Like directors are funny people. They'll talk to you about, character development and what this guy wants, and let's tweak this and all this. When it comes to the day when you're shooting it, usually the crack in their ass is showing because they've been, just terrorized all day. And they come up to you and they go, we got like 4 minutes. We're losing the light. Just do it, okay? There's no more method. There's no more nothing, It's just the light is coming. So we're out at that door. And that was the motivation for that, is get this thing done. Before the sun came up, and we caught it. We busted it. That was a great moment. The whole crew just went, wow, man, we got this. So as far as turning it off and on, during the day, I was playing this guy, Greg Foster, on The Young and the Restless. Think of these guys. I had this, this girl who I was married to on The Young and the Restless. And Ramrod would be there, but Greg was supposed to be there. So Greg is supposed to be like, hi, Nikki, how are you? And he'd be like, yeah, Nikki, how's it going? It's like I just freaking people out everywhere. I thought I was doing a good job of shifting and everything. But I was later told, I was totally nuts, And I think, it wore on me, and it was really good to get rid of that character. And, I played with, dabbled in other characters since, but that character was that was a major moment in my life, It just said, quit fucking around, really do something here, really blow something out, I got the lip going, that little lip thing. It's just, I wasn't afraid of anything. I was just, I held it. We spent so much time, you're so afraid of things, and it, as an actor, it's so beautiful that every now and then you could just not be afraid, and just go, this is me right here. This is me right now. It's a good trait. Yeah. So turning it on and off, yeah. Is that the answer?
I think so. I think a lot of us want to go back and see the soap opera now to see if we can get some little...
I'll tell you this. I would show up to CBS after shooting all night, and the thing is, I would rinse out the black in my hair because you notice I had black hair. What would happen is when I would get to the to Vice Squad about 6 o'clock in the evening, because we were shooting all nights, I'd get there and I'd have my regular hair, and then they would put this black makeup, this black hair stuff on my head where my hair was then, and as soon as that hair started turning black, Ramrod would appear, and that's kind of the deal. It's like, And in the mirror, in makeup, wonderful things can happen. And you put that turquoise shirt on, right? And you know, on those horrible tight pants, you know, but the Jordache thing, oh God, I remember, but they were, you get those cowboy boots, ostrich boots, you know, and by the time you're dressed and you got that hair, you know, and you give it a little lip, and you're there, you know, and then you go to the CBS and take a shower and all this gunk black stuff would run down you and you would be, you know, trying to do something else. So
It's like an 80s Dr. Jekyll, like Frederick March, 80s style.
yeah.
I also mentioned, too, we're talking about some of the scenes and the shots, too. I also want to point out, for those who didn't recognize the name, the cinematographer on this, John Alcott, was an incredible cinematographer. I don't know how they got him on this, but, I mean,
He needed
as we're talking Clockwork Orange, The Shining, Barry Lyndon, I mean, one of the greatest cinematographers in history on this film.
He was terrific. Yeah. You know, like when you said, and Clue is sitting here, he knows this, the challenge in making a film is lifting what's on the paper up onto the screen. And I've always thought if you get like 80% of that up on the screen, you're pretty successful. And because of Wings here, the way he just absorbed that character, Ramrod, when I first saw the film, it was everything I wrote. You know, it was right there. It was incredible. You know, it was just terrific.
And again, I want to give Bob a big hand, too. Both these films, there's so many great moments, so many great scenes, and little touches of dialogue. He really did an incredible job writing both of these films, too. And I want to give you a big hand for that.
You might find this fun. I was telling Wings that you remember the scene where the police captain comes out and says, "Where the fuck are my paper clips?" Well, I'm up there in this office above the Tiffany Theater working. I'm like 10, 12 days there, locked in that office. And every time I turned around and wanted a paper clip, somebody had stolen my paper clips. And I mean, where the fuck are my paper clips? Right? And so I said, I'm going to put it in the picture. And that's what happened.
Got incredible reaction. Very memorable scene.
You know.
I want to take a couple of questions from the audience, too, along with some of the members. Do you have any questions out in the audience in the middle?
A couple of years ago, I was working with you on a Western shooting your ADR, and you were really kind enough to sit for about an hour and talk to me about this film after you shot all your cues for me. And we touched on this, but I think everybody would be interested if you talk something about your work schedule between the television show and this movie while you're shooting this. That in itself sounded grueling and horrible to me.
Well,
What are you sleeping at all?
well, let me just say this. I walked by the prop truck one day, and the prop master said, "Do you want to do bone marrow or cocaine?" It was the early 80s. I actually thought cocaine grew on prop trucks. I never heard of Columbia.
No, on the craft table, the arts and craft table.
I think, you know, I got to tell you, you know, John Alcott, and we just skimmed over, this guy is, you would find John Alcott like this. He'd be like just staring at things. And he's English and very proper. You go, "Hey, Mr. Alcott, how you doing?" You know, "I'm looking at the shadow, you know, rings." Shadows, something's important. And he's just like, wow, you know, what a trip this guy is. But then, about halfway through it, we're getting on. I mean, he's lighting me. You know, when I'm in the truck and there's just this little light bathed over my eyes, he's got a little pin spot. He's just, I mean, like what do you, snoot, yeah, whatever, you know, and then you, like, hey. So we got it on. We were getting it on together, you know, and he goes, "Wings, my wife Sue and I would like to invite you to a Lasserre dinner." And Lasserre was this shishi French place in the valley. And it's like, and I'm from the hills, not Tennessee, but the hills. You know, it's like, you know, at that point, a burger and fries was kind of, you know, basically it. So I show up there, and John Hurt, the great actor, he's just shit-faced. I mean, this guy's John, all right? And Alcott, the great cinematographer, is like, you know, it's just it's as cool as can be. But it's a very proper and very uptight table, very French. And Sue goes, "Wings, a little more champagne." And this woman's got, you know, something up her ass. It's just amazing. You know, and caviar. And I'm like going, "Oh, okay, Jesus, smells like fish, you know. It's not a good time, right?" And so finally I said to her, I said, "Sue, what was it like for you guys to win the Academy Award?" And he had won the Academy Award for, I think it was Barry Lyndon. Okay? And she goes, "Man," in her very proper Queen Elizabethan attitude, poke her up her butt. She goes, well, I'll tell you, Wings, it's better than the best fuck you'll ever have. That's sweet. True story. Anyhow, we're here how many days? 4 nights only? Oh, no, just... So, but I appreciate your question. It wasn't grueling. It was so damn much fun. It really was. I mean, it was just fun. I was in this car, when I was laying down in the car, and I thought, I'll just kick this window out. And I mean, nobody would question it. Nobody would screw with Ramrod. I mean, the director was like told, I was going to just let him go. Everybody's just, okay, he just put his foot through the window and broke the window of the car, and we have no other window. Too bad. It was like, this guy Ramrod just did things, as you well know.
I wanted to bring up something else too, because we enjoyed it both in the opening credits and the closing. Neon Slime, written by the great madman, written by Simon Stokes. So if you haven't checked out Simon's music, definitely check out some of the things he's done. But how did you end up doing the singing the theme, Neon Slime?
Well, you're leaving? No, I don't think so.
We've actually locked the doors.
Get back in your seats.
I have a hanger I'm going to hand him, so you might
Sometimes the magic works. Sometimes it's just...
Well, I noticed they ran a little faster, so good night, guys.
We've lost 10% of the audience anyhow, okay? It used to be 50 to 75. People just like scream and walk out. So, what was the question?
Neon Slime, how did you end up also becoming the vocalist in the theme?
I've recorded 2 albums. My first album was on AFCO Embassy, and my second was on RCA. And I was a singer, songwriter, pianist, still am, getting ready to record the music for Callie's album that she's written all the lyrics and is singing. We're going to make an album together. So, anyhow, they knew I was a singer. They brought me in and I sang the damn thing, there was, that's it. I couldn't believe that it ended up in a film. I thought it was like I blew my voice out on that.
It's incredible fun. Right from the get-go, the movie comes on and you're like, all right, this is going to be a good time. I can tell. No, that's... We have other questions in that front.
This question's for Bob, the writer. What was your motivation initially for writing Vice Squad, and how would you sort of characterize the changes in Hollywood or Los Angeles? Has it cleaned up as a city? Has it become...
My motivation for writing Vice Squad was money. I was under contract to Sandy Howard at the time for 1 year as a writer. I'd written a couple of screenplays for him before. He and Doc Doherty had written a first draft of Vice Squad. They turned it over to AFCO Embassy. They rejected it. I think Sandy had a drop-dead time where he had to come in with the script or he'd use the financing. He called me up. He moved me into the office above the Tiffany Theater, said, you're not going home until it's done. He literally meant it, right? And so I was up there at the Tiffany writing. At that time, Sunset Boulevard was Hooker Stroll. Across the street was Ben Frank's coffee shop. I'd go across there with my yellow pad writing. This was before computers. Girls would see what I was doing. They'd ask. I'd say, I'm writing a movie called Vice Squad. They'd say, oh, really? And that's where I got all of the lingo, the dialogue, a lot of the ideas, all of that stuff came from that.
And all the sort of the oddball clientele, where did that come from? Does it kind of remind me of Belle de Jour at times? But maybe that's with this me.
What did he say? I don't.
Where did you get all of the oddball clientele for the prostitutes? And he said he was wondering about Belle de Jour a bit.
Yeah, running as street characters was my thing, and it has always been my thing. That's basically what I write, And street people interest me, and they have color and they have dimension, and they just, I have diarrhea of the fingertips when I'm writing about street people. They come easily to me. And, I knew that if I did a good job on Vice Squad, right, I would get a chance to direct a picture, and that happened. That's what got me...
It's because you did a good job.
I did a fair job on Vice Squad, yeah. Yeah.
Better than fair, much better. And some of the clientele too, I know that very memorable scene for all of us too is the wealthy older gentleman in the coffin. So where did that one come from? That's
what scene?
The scene where she goes to the house of the wealthy older gentleman.
Oh, yeah. Well, Sandy told me, and this may be apocalyptic, I don't know. He told me about some rich guy in a mansion would hire a hooker to come in and do him while he was in a coffin. And the instructions were that she wasn't supposed to talk. And I thought that was a great idea. And I said, well, let's put it in the movie. And I wrote the wedding scene that you see there. You know, I thought it was great. Also, there's a line that, well, you mentioned something about it. I hadn't seen the picture in 25 years, and I always thought, I said, did I imagine that I wrote Make My Day? Maybe I didn't do it. Maybe I didn't do it, you know. And then I saw it on IFC a couple of months ago, and I did. And it's several months ahead of whatever that movie was.
About a year before the Clint Eastwood film that made the same line immortal.
And I was telling Wings that there was no great line. That was, at that time, the late 70s, early 80s, that was a pickup line. You know, you'd go up to a girl and say, hey, have a drink with me, make my day. Or make my day, take your clothes off, you know. Never worked for me, but, I mean, it was a pickup line, and I just remembered it, and I put it in there, you know. The line I love, I dearly love it, is blink, motherfucker, and you die in the dark. Thanks.
It's where
You do couple all the way in the back, Mark.
Okay, one for each of you. Since you were living above the Tiffany Theater, which wrote this, is that why you put in the little reference to the Rocky Horror Picture Show in Vice Squad? And to Wings, how proud were you when you saw your son in Dazed and Confused?
I guess start with Bob with
Okay, that was there. I used everything around me. I used everything and anything I saw, and whatever ideas the girls gave me, I used everything because it was there. You know, what was the question for Wings?
Wings about
how proud was I? This much? Yeah. Well, you're referring to Cole, my son?
Oh,
Yeah. I tell you, proud, yes. But when I was doing this film, directing and wrote this film called Skins, that ended up being called Gang Boys, which is, but anyway, you know, and the bastards got a hold of it with the scissors and did all sorts of weird things. But anyhow, the quick story about him, I wanted him to play the bad guy, which was a skinhead. And I don't know if you've ever seen his hair, really. It's got the most beautiful hair. It's got this, you know, these ringlets like Shirley Temple, you know, when he grows it out. It's just incredible hair. And I said, well, you have to, if you do this, you have to cut your hair. And so he walked away. I said, well, come back tomorrow. If you come back, you know, shaved, then I know you're in this for keeps. If not, I totally understand. And the next day, I looked across the parking lot and saw this bald-headed guy. And I went, man, I got to be perfect for the role. And it was him. And that was like, you know, it was proud to see, you know, that kind of commitment, you know, that because, you know, I mean, we joke and everything and we have a great time. But I tell you, a really touching story for me was in 1975, I was doing this TV show. And it was with Richard Lynch. You guys?
yeah. I know Richard.
What a tremendous guy. Yeah. I mean, his story is just outrageous. But he and I are playing brothers on this TV show, which I won't mention the actor. Maybe you'll guess. But anyhow, Richard, I'm dying in this scene. And Richard, my tears are running down my face. And I'm looking up at Richard, my brother, my older brother, and his tears are falling on my face. And we're both crying. And this is magic, man. This is when, you know, actors would like, you know, rather than doing push-ups before a scene, they would actually rehearse and really get into these things, right? And we were on it, man. We were on it. And we were both crying. It was like, you know, Emmy was this like floating around. Wow. And the scene ended, and you know, they said cut. Director says cut, and there's nothing. There's nobody saying anything. You just feel how cool everybody thought this was, and how proud they were. You know that kind of work was occurring, and you hear this voice from this little son of a bitch going, "Nobody cries on my show but me." And we just die, you know. It's like, and we had to reshoot the scene. this incredibly magical scene, Beretta, and nobody cried. And later that day, Richard and I are going over the hill. He's going to come to my house and, have some dinner or whatever. And we stop at Mulholland Drive, right? And we're looking down at Universal at the Black Tower. This is where all the decisions are made there, right? And he goes, you know what? This guy who we just worked with, that's it. That's all he's got. But Wings, I swear to God, if you just go with the work, let the work carry you. Let the work be your wings. And let the work take you, and you will work as long as you want to work. Guys like that, they come and they go. But the work, man, the work, it's about the work. And I got to tell you, it's 46 years later. I still work. It's the work. It's the work, and it's the work. And in a few days, I'm beginning my 84th film with my partner here, Callie, who I drug out tonight. Callie, I'm sorry. Okay. Wesley. And Callie, who's an award-winning playwright from New York, is directing this and co-starring with me in this. And we're shooting this thing starting the 18th. And it's all because of the work. Because I got to tell you, we're watching a business really, where fame doesn't require anything but fame. And I truly believe that if we keep working, just really work the damn scenes and work the writing, that, you guys will keep coming back, and I'll keep coming back. So, thank you so much for like showing up. They're 29 years later. Look at you guys, But I gotta tell you, every son of a bitch on that set, including this old guy here, we were working back then. We were working. This was like, it wasn't exhausting. It was so much fun. You drive down to downtown LA and go, I'm gonna be here all night with this crew, this group of people. I mean, just beautiful. Is anybody crying yet?
And that's one thing. We'll see in 29 years how many current films are going to be drawing this kind of an audience 29 years later at midnight. So, definitely. Do we have any last questions before we wrap it up? I know it is a very late night here. Any last incredible question? The pressure's on you if you're going to ask the last one. Nope. Going once. Going twice. There. In the middle.
What was it like rerun Balls Up?
I was asking a question about Fred Berry, the late Fred Berry, who was a rerun on What's Happening, was it? On What's Happening, he had the role in there. So he was asking what it was like cutting his balls off.
Swift. It's a sharp knife, man. That's a weird scene, wasn't it? That was so weird. It's really strange to do.
Yeah. Never the recognizable people. Obviously, you guys, hopefully, those who were of the MTV generation, saw Nina Blackwood there in the opening, which this was right before she did the MTV stick. So.
I can't believe how sick I am.
we can get the screenwriter and stars putting her through that. But guys, I want to thank you all for coming down tonight. I know it's a late night on Tuesday. I really appreciate it. Have a big hand for Robert Vincent and the Yellow Wings Hauser. Give a big hand for coming out and joining us tonight. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Absolutely. Yeah, let's get it. Thanks, man. It's great.
Yeah, it's always this.